What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, back with another Week 6 preview. We kicked it off this morning with Auburn, Georgia, in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And now we get to our game of the week here on the Bluebloods, so y'all know what that means. Comment your score predictions below, subscribe, and like the video to enter our giveaway. If you can predict the exact score and the winner correctly in the comments, you will win our $50 giveaway. I will be Venmoing y'all, PayPaling y'all, whatever is best for you guys, y'all's winnings, if y'all can get the score, winner correct, and you're subscribed. So make sure to do all those things right now before we get into this video. But the game of the week couldn't be any bigger. It goes down not only in one of the best environments in college football in Kinnick Stadium. We have a top 5 matchup between number 4 Penn State and number 3 Iowa. And Iowa is a 2.5-point favorite. The game kicks off at 3 p.m. Central Time live on Fox. And we have not this matchup will not only shake up the Big Ten title race, but also has gigantic college football playoff implications moving forward for both of these teams. And for storylines, I mean, if it couldn't get any bigger, you have the Hawkeyes coming in at 5-0, looking for their second top 10 win of the season, while also having a chance to establish themselves as real national title contenders, proving all the doubters wrong, and really and truly establishing Kirk Ferentz as one of the most underrated coaches in the country. He deserves his respect. And if they win this game, you kind of solidify yourself right up there with the Georgia Alabamas as one of the favorites to come away with the trophy at the end of the year. And then on the other side, you got to give the Nittany Lions some credit, man. They fought off injury. They fought off turnover in terms of positions. They fought off coaching rumors for the USC job for James Franklin. And now they've powered their way to a 5-0 record, looking for their third top 25 win of the season, and they're looking to set themselves up as favorites in the Big Ten. And really and truly, there's a little bit of, I would say personally, there's a little bit of motivation added based on what happened in 2016 when they win the Big Ten and they don't get any credit, and they don't get in, and it was all they got snubbed, to say the least. And so being able to get this win, it put themselves in perfect position to take control of the Big Ten and get in the college football playoff for the first time in school history. Looking at this series, the Nittany Lions lead the overall series 17-13, and they have won 6 of the last 7 games. But the last matchup last year, a 20-point Iowa win over the Nittany Lions. So this is a very competitive series, and I'm expecting a very competitive game on Saturday afternoon. Now, for the keys to the matchup, man, let's get to the Hawkeyes, and it should be clear the exact key after their first 5 wins and their dominant win over Maryland last week, which I incorrectly predicted the upset. That was my upset pick of the week. I was completely wrong. So shout out to Iowa for making me look like a liar, but it's to stay balanced. That's going to be the key the whole time for this Iowa team. You got to keep it simple, do what you do best, lean on the run game, and then allow Spencer Petras to just simply attack the defense, distribute the ball, keep the ball out of harm's way, and let his playmakers make plays out in space and put the ball in your best athlete's hands. You don't have to be flashy. You don't have to put up 600 yards a game. All you have to do is be consistent, control the pace of the game, don't turn the ball over, and just play Iowa football, which is that smash mouth, grinded out type football, and just establish your offensive rhythm. That's going to be the recipe for success for the Hawkeyes all season long until proven otherwise. I mean, you look at how balanced they are. They're averaging almost 200 yards passing and over 120 rushing yards per game. And when they're clicking, when that rhythm's going at its highest level, they can be one of the most efficient offenses in the country, especially as they stay on pace and stay in front of the chains and don't get into those second and third and longs. Now, Spencer Petras does not receive a lot of credit for what he actually does for this offense, guys. Yes, he's not going to throw for 400 yards a game like Matt Corral. He's not just going to put on just a ridiculous performance like Bryce Young. But what he's going to do is he's going to be efficient. He's going to limit turnovers. and what he's going to be is a perfect fit for this Iowa offense. He's completing 62% of his passes, almost 1,000 yards passing. He's averaging over 7.5 yards per attempt with 7 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing, and only 1 turnover for the season. And he's been one of the highest graded quarterbacks in the country with a 90.2 passing grade by Pro Football Focus, which shows exactly how efficient, important, and great he's been for this Hawkeyes offense. He thrives on short passes, guys. He throws 0 to 9 yards on over 40% of his passes. But then what he does is once that defense starts creeping up, they got their eyes in the backfield, they got their eyes underneath. He can thrive on the deep ball and take a deep shot once those one-on-one matchups and once those opportunities become available. He grades at a 94.9 Pro Football Focus passing grade on passes 20 plus yards down the field, in which he's already thrown 3 touchdowns for over 250 yards. He avoids the turnovers, and he has to do that again this weekend. You've got to avoid turnovers, and you have to be able to take the deep shot when they are available. That's the key to escaping with the win this weekend against the Nittany Lions. Auburn and Bo Nix, when they came into Happy Valley a few weeks ago, they had a chance to win, but they missed on their deep opportunities. Petrus and this offense have to hit their deep shots. They have to push the ball down the field, and they have to stay ahead of the chains and protect the quarterback. So that's going to be something to watch. But don't forget Tyler Goodson and Ivory Kelly Martin at the running back spot. Both of those guys are going to be X factors in terms of controlling the game, establishing the run, and really establishing the balance that I'm looking for out of this Hawkeyes offense. Now, the key to the game for the Nittany Lions is going to be on the shoulders of Sean Clifford because the Nittany Lions have absolutely struggled to run the ball against a pretty good defenses. They struggled against Wisconsin. They struggled against Auburn, and I'm expecting them not to be great at establishing the run this weekend against a very, very stout Iowa defense. Now, what that means is that Clifford has to continue his outstanding 2021 season and try to take advantage of the Hawkeyes in that intermediate range, which is where Clifford lives this season, to say the least. Now, his Penn State offense has completely relied on Clifford's playmaking ability, and honestly, he's having one of his best years that he's had as the Penn State starting quarterback. He has to prove it again this weekend. He's completing over 67% of his passes for over 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. And he's looked, just watching the film on him, he looks more confident. He's embraced the big moments. And what he's done is he's led this offense to an outstanding level of production when needed. Yes, it hasn't always been pretty, but when Penn State needs a drive, when Penn State needs a play, Sean Clifford has absolutely come through for Penn State. Now, most of his damage has been done 0 to 19 yards down the field from that short to intermediate range. And he's completed over 70% of his passes in that range for over 800 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 2 picks. That's where Clifford dominated Auburn, where he only missed 4 passes. He was 28 for 32 and picked Auburn's secondary apart. He's going to have to do that this weekend and ease some of that pressure off the running game because they're going to have to run the ball. But if Clifford can get going, it's really going to help that running game open up without a loaded box from the Hawkeyes defense. Now, the running game was better last weekend for the Nittany Lions against the Hoosiers. Over 200 yards rushing. 4 different players had over 8 carries, but this weekend's definitely going to be their biggest test to come. Noah Kane has been RB1 all year with about 187 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he's only averaging about 3 yards per carry. He has not been great in terms of that average, but Kayvon Lee has been my favorite guy to watch. 174, 6.2 yards per carry, and has been the most explosive, consistent running back over these past 2 weeks. Now, John Levet, the transfer from Baylor, has 95 yards, averaging about 4 yards per carry, but really hasn't established himself as a guy who's going to be a lot in the game plan, but he's someone to watch if Penn State needs some depth at that running back spot. So for me, those are the keys for both teams. So moving to the matchup to watch, this one, man, this one was tough. As I feel like you could go either way on this. But for me, the Penn State wide receivers versus the Iowa secondary is the matchup that's going to be best versus best and is really going to go a long way in determining who can come out of this matchup with a huge win. Now, his Penn State wide receiving core has been solid all year long, and they should get a lot of credit for Clifford's development and production this season. And of course, it's headlined by Jahan Dotson, one of my favorite wide receivers. I ranted about this kid on the Penn State Auburn preview. I thought he was going to be the X factor, and he was with 10 catches. He's putting together quietly one of the most impressive wide receiver seasons in the country right now. 35 catches for over 400 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaging almost 13 yards per catch. And what he's doing, he's starting to open up opportunities for other guys. Parker Washington, 25 catches for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Keandre Lambert Smith, 13 catches for over 200 yards and a touchdown. He's averaging over 17 yards per catch. So Dotson's drawing attention from the secondary is really helping out some of these other guys. And all three of these guys have to have a big day this weekend. The wide receiving core has to create separation. They have to be consistent on their routes, and they have to make plays for Clifford. If this Iowa secondary is able to clamp them like they have been other teams all this season, it's going to be a long weekend. But at the same time, if Dotson can go out there and put on a performance, he could have his Bolitnikov type performance where he establishes himself as the favorite for the Bolitnikov Award this season. For Dotson, he has such a unique ability to make plays all over the field and play multiple different wide receiving positions. He can play the X, he can play slot. He can play any position you want to put him in this offense. He grades above a 90.0 in terms of receiving grade for Pro Football Focus on catches behind the line of scrimmage, intermediate routes at 10 to 19 yards, and the deep ball 20 plus down the field, which shows his versatility. And I expect I expect Penn State, like they did against Auburn, to scheme Dotson into one-on-one matchups that he can win and that give him the favorable advantage and get him the ball early and often throughout this game. And Washington, on the other hand, acts as a great threat over the middle. He is a great intermediate route runner, gets a 95.1 PFF grade in terms of intermediate routes 10 to 19 yards, and gets a lot of great opportunities over the middle due to Dotson drawing a lot of secondary attention from opposing defenses. So watch out for these Penn State wide receivers. These guys have to have a big game. And on the other side of this matchup, let's just say the Iowa secondary has been one of the best in the country, and I would expect that this is their biggest test, and I'm excited to see how they respond to that. Last weekend, this Hawkeyes defense, guys, against Maryland was the second highest graded defense in the country behind Georgia. And it was mostly due to the secondary shutting down an elite passing attack of Maryland and embarrassing Tagovailoa and those wide receivers. Matt Hankins and Riley Moss are the top two corners on this Iowa team, and they last weekend had one hell of a performance. Hankins did not have any catches allowed, and Moss did not allow a catch to go for beyond a first down and got a huge interception, which gives him 3 for the season. Hankins and Moss are elite playmakers on the outside of this defense, and if I'm Iowa, one of these guys is traveling with Jahan Dotson, and we are not letting him breathe at all this weekend. So I'm interested to see how this defense for Iowa schemes it up to slow down Dotson, because once you slow down Dotson, it's going to be very interesting to see where Penn State turns to get production on the offensive side of the ball. Now, Kavion Merriweather and Jack Conner are also two names you have to watch at the safety spot, because Penn State in the Auburn game did a great job of sliding and moving and motioning Jahan Dotson around to get him matched up on linebackers and safeties, and he just absolutely ate in those matchups. If Merriweather or Conner get matched up on Dotson, they're going to have to perform, and they're going to have to be ready for that. So those are two guys to also watch out for. Overall, this matchup is going to be so important for determining who wins this weekend. If Dotson and these wide receivers can be electric and productive, there's absolutely a great chance that Penn State can escape Kinnick with a big win. But Iowa continues, if Iowa continues their defensive domination, I have a tough time seeing the Hawkeyes fall in their home stadium with the defensive performance like they've been putting up. Now, as I said, this is our game of the week, so I need y'all to go ahead and comment your scores below. That way you enter the giveaway and subscribe and like the video. But for me, I think these are this is one of those pick'em games where I can see it going either way. It's going to come down to Clifford and Petrus, who has the better game, who avoids the turnovers, and who can push the ball down the field. And then it's going to come down to which defense can make enough plays to stop the other one. Because I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be one of those old school Big Ten games where it's like 3-3 at halftime. And I don't see either team putting up over 20, 21, 22 points. At that, 21 to 24 points would be huge for either of these teams. But for me, home field advantage at Kinnick is different. This place is going to be electric. Listen, you can never bet against Kinnick Stadium. Weird things happen in there. And when big games go to Kinnick, different things happen. So I think the home field advantage plays a huge part. I love the secondary of Iowa. They made me believers last week, and I can't pick against them again. So for me, I'm going Hawkeyes here, 14-10 over the Nittany line. So a 4-point win for the Hawkeyes. And I just think Kinnick is too big of an environment. I think Clifford makes just a few mistakes. I think Moss or Hankins get a pick or two here or there, and that's the difference in the game. And both teams only get 2 scores, man. 14-10. Hawkeyes for me this weekend in Kinnick Stadium in a huge top 5 matchup that I cannot wait to watch. But guys, like I said, comment your scores below to enter our $50 Game of the Week giveaway. And also on top of that, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video. That way you can get your money if you predict it right. It's going to be a huge matchup. Also, comment your analysis and takeaways or what you're looking forward to in this game below as well. Love to hear y'all's opinions on all these games. And I appreciate y'all tuning into the Blue Bloods, man. Got the best and most college football content on YouTube right now. I promise you ain't finding this stuff anywhere else. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. But for right now, the Blue Bloods are out.